Hello friends, in this class of microeconomics, I would like to teach you the law of demand. Now what does this law of demand state? The law of demand states that other things remaining constant or unchanged, the quantity demanded of a commodity varies inversely with its own price. That is, if we write the function of demand as qx is equal to function of px and z. Z represents all the other things. Now, what do we mean by other things? Other things means here the income of the consumer, the taste preferences of the consumer, the prices of other related goods like say substitutes, complementary goods, etc. and so on and so forth. There may be many things which influences our demand. But keeping all these things constant, if we change the own price of the commodity, that is, say if price is increasing of the commodity X, then quantity of the commodity, quantity demanded of the commodity X will be decreasing. And if the own price, that is the price of X, is increasing, then the quantity demanded of the commodity will be decreasing. So if the price is increasing, then the quantity will be decreasing. If the price is decreasing, then the quantity demanded will be increasing. So we can write in the form of calculus, we can write delta qx divided by delta px is negative. That is, there's an inverse relation between quantity demanded of a commodity and the price of the commodity. Now, if we plot the price of the commodity on the vertical axis and the quantity of the commodity on the horizontal axis, and we can draw a demand schedule which is a straight line or which is a curve. A curve represents changing slope of the demand schedule at different points. But the straight line demand curve represents a constant slope of the demand curve. Now, if the price of the commodity X is decreasing from P1 to P2, say it decreases from rupees 5 to rupees 3, then the quantity demanded of X will increase from Q1 to Q2. So, if we represent delta Px by OP1 minus OP2, then it will be 5 minus 3, that is 2, a positive amount or quantity. And if we represent delta Qx by OQ1 minus OQ2, then it will be a negative amount because the quantity will be from OQ1 to OQ2, the quantity will be increasing. So OQ1 will be smaller than OQ2. Say if OQ1 is 4 and OQ2 is 6, then 4 minus 6 is minus 2. So it will be a negative amount. So delta Qx by delta Px will give a negative result. That is why the law of demand states that when the quantity demanded of a commodity, when the price of the commodity is increasing, then the quantity demanded of the commodity will be decreasing, or vice versa. That is, if the price of the commodity is decreasing, then the quantity demanded will be increasing. Now, we always represent the price of the commodity by saying own price, and the price of other things we say the related price, that is the price of substitute goods or complementary goods. So whenever we talk of a shift in the demand schedule, we are always talking about a change in the demand, in the total demand, and not the change in quantity demanded. The quantity demanded change represents a movement along the demand curve. Say from A to B here or from A to B here. But whenever we are talking about a shift in the demand schedule, we are talking about a change in the demand Now we are not representing it by a shift in along the demand schedule. We are representing it by a shift from one demand curve to another demand curve. Say here we have represented it by dd dashed to d1 d1 dashed, and the shift in demand is from A to A dashed. The price of the commodity here is remaining same, that is Px, but the quantity of demand has increased from Qx to Qx dashed. Why does this happen? Why does the demand change? It changes due to the change in other factors. Those factors which I said were remaining constant when we were talking about the law of demand, like the taste preference of the consumer, the income of the consumer, prices of related goods, and so on and so forth. Now, it can also happen when the demand schedule is a curve. Same thing, from A to A dashed, the demand has increased from Qx to Qx dashed, but price has been constant here of the commodity X. But why does this demand change? Suppose the income of the consumer has increased. Now he is able to afford more things in the same price only. So he would like to buy more of the same commodity if his income increases and if there is demand for that commodity for him. And if his taste preference, other factors means one is income, another can be taste and preference of the consumer. When the taste and preference for that particular commodity increases for the consumer, then he would like to buy more of that commodity. Other things can be also price of substitutes. Now, say we always talk about substitutes like tea and coffee. Suppose we would like more of, if the price of coffee increases, whenever we were having coffee, we would like to have tea now because the price of coffee has increased. So when the price of coffee has increased, the demand for tea will be increasing. So the shift from Qx to Qx dashed will happen because the demand schedule has changed. The demand schedule will change because of the change in other factors. But whenever the price of the own commodity changes, we move along the demand curve. But whenever the change is there in other factors, the demand schedule will shift all over from right to left or from left to right, as may be the case. If the income increases, then the demand schedule will shift right. If the income decreases, the demand schedule will shift left. If the taste preference increases, then the demand schedule will shift right, or vice versa. If the taste decreases for that commodity, then it will shift to the left. If the price of substitute goods increases, then the demand schedule for this commodity will increase, that is, shift to the right. And so we can understand that whenever there is a increase in demand, the demand schedule will shift to the right hand side. And if there is a decrease in demand, then the demand schedule will shift to the left hand side. Now, in case for complementary goods like say car and petrol, if the price of petrol is increasing, then demand for car will decrease. So there's a inverse relation, that is, if the price of petrol is increasing, then people will demand less of cars. So the demand schedule will shift to the left hand side. Just opposite in case like in case of the substitutory goods. Now in case of complementary goods, we will see that the demand schedule will always shift to the left when the price of the commodity, when the price of the related commodity, that is the complementary commodity, is increasing. Then the demand schedule of this commodity in question, say X, will decrease for complementary goods. And for substitutory goods, if the price of the related commodity is increasing, then the demand schedule will also shift to the right, that is, the demand will increase for this particular commodity X. And so the law of demand states that whenever there is a change in the own price of the commodity, the quantity demanded will be changing in the opposite direction. So the demand schedule will always slope from the left to the right downward sloping demand curve, as we say. So it will shift from the left upward corner to the right downward corner. And in case of a change in the demand, there will be a total shift of the demand schedule, and we will not move along the demand curve. We will always see that the demand schedule will be shifting to the right if the demand for the commodity in question, that is in this case our commodity in question is X, the demand for X is increasing, means the demand schedule will shift to the right, and demand for X is decreasing, means the demand schedule will shift to the left. So the commodity in question, if its price changes, then we say the quantity demanded of the commodity changes with respect to its own price. And when other things are changing, we say that the demand for the commodity is changing. That is, in case it is increasing, it will move to the right, and in case if it is decreasing, if the demand is decreasing, then we will shift to the left.